Do 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 do. Josh's Order Corner. That's me.
Before we talk about the last book I finished, I want to tell you about the last two that I put down because I just couldn't do it. And that's okay. Sometimes you'll pick up a book, you'll have best intentions, but when you get into it, you just can't force yourself through it. And if it feels like you're forcing yourself through it, it's not worth the read. It's okay to set it down. World Chased Me Down. This is by Andrew Hillman. I got the price tag still on there. I can't get it off cleanly. It just wasn't working for me. It's a story that normally I would be into, but for some reason I couldn't do it. So had to throw it on the couldn't finish pile. I also Beautiful Children. I don't have it down here with me by I believe Charles Bach. Something about the writing, I felt like it was hard to get into, and I knew if it was hard to get into, it would be hard to get through. So I set it aside, and that's okay. If you can't finish a book, it's all right. There's plenty more books out there. I will say the last book that I finished, I have two versions of it here, was this right here. This is Salome by Mick Garris. You may recognize the name Mick Garris if you're familiar with my channel here. Award-winning filmmaker Mick Garris is the creator and executive producer of Showtime's Masters of Horror series, as well as the creator of NBC series Fear Itself, both anthology series of one-hour horror films. A Life in the Cinema, his first book, was a collection of short stories and a screenplay based on one of the included stories. Garris's first novel, Development Hell, was published by Cemetery Dance Publications, who also are publishers of his novellas Snow Shadows and Tyler's Third Act. His second novel, Salome, this right here, is next year's novella, Ugly. He also had several works of short fiction published in numerous books and magazines. This is the advanced reader's copy, and it's funny because these are like meant so you can catch typos and stuff before it goes to market. Um, who also are also publishers of his novellas. Typo right on that. That's funny. I thought I hated my wife until she was murdered. I thought I knew her too, better than anyone. The spouse is always the first suspect. You feel guilt regardless of how far you are from the scene of the crime. I couldn't help but feel complicit that our mutual and growing hatred had somehow taken root and led to this. I knew it wasn't true in a legal sense, but I felt dirty with responsibility regardless. Maybe I never really hated my wife. Maybe she just drove me mad. Maybe I would miss her, but mostly I needed to know who killed her and why. So sets the story here of a husband trying to track down what happened to his wife in her final hours. Now, it would have been interesting to read this version to check for any kind of mistakes or anything, but I read this one, which is Cemetery Dance. I got this from, I believe, an email that went out from Richard Chismar of some sale pieces. This is special lettered edition, limited to 26 copies. This is personal copy, signed by Mick Garris. Now, Mick Garris he's been involved in quite a few different works, quite a few different movies, TV shows, things like that. It's got the gold edges there. Looks great on the shelf. He was the director of the Stand miniseries. He's also the director of a few other Stephen King things, Sleepwalkers, The Shining, the second adaptation, obviously. He also was a part of Critters 2, Stephen King's Desperation. Like, he's done it all. He's a very talented person, and he seems like a really nice guy. And I say that because of something very simple in the way that he wrote his story. And I'll share that with you because I find it interesting. I don't know if anybody here would know me from back in the day, but I used to have my ears stretched about an inch and a half, a little bit bigger than an inch and a half. So I had very droopy lobes before I got plastic surgery to fix that problem. In the book, the way that Mick Garris describes somebody with those lobes is very polite. It was really surprising because usually you hear like they look like cat butts or things like that. And he was just very nice about it. Like something about how you could tell that they used to have the trend of having the big holes in their ears. I know that's weird, but it's something that really like stuck with me. It was a good book. It wasn't the greatest. It was a bit dry, and it really does just follow the husband as he tries to find out what happens to his wife. They're not getting along at the time, so luckily he was far away from her when the situation happened. So he was ruled out as a suspect, but he wanted to find out what happened. And it's a journey. Now, you have chapters from his perspective and chapters from her perspective. And then the final finale of everything, where he faces the killer head on, and you see just how dangerous that individual truly, truly is, and just how far a husband will go to understand the truth of what happened with his wife. Now, let's talk about the review. Like I said, it wasn't the best thing I've read this year. I gave it 2 stars. I know that's really harsh. I'm sorry. I wanted to love this book as much as I love Mick Garris's other work, but unfortunately, it didn't land for me. A mysterious murder leaves a husband grieving and determined to uncover the truth about his wife's death. The story alternates between the husband's and wife's perspectives, a structure with potential, but it never quite finds its stride. Despite just being 200 pages, it feels much longer. In the end, we're left with more questions than answers, much like the husband himself. There's little in the way of character development, but that almost feels besides the point. This might have worked better as a one off CSI episode, but not as a novel. It just didn't scratch the itch. This was a signed private copy from Cemetery Dance, and then also we have the advanced reader's copy, which I purchased from the hellscape that is eBay. So, this is not the first of his that I've read. I can't remember the other book of his that I read. Tyler's Third Act is the other one that I read. He's an enjoyable writer. He seems like an all-around good dude. He's horror royalty. I have his autograph up on the wall. It just didn't do it for me this time around. And that's okay. That's okay. If you've read it, I want to hear your thoughts. Tell me what you are reading. I am going down the Jeff Vandermeer road. This is Venice Underground. I started this one not long ago. We're going to see where it takes us because he's got a lot of work. And it seems very confusing to figure out the right way to read those novels. We will see. Tell me what you're reading. I'd love to hear about it. Until next time.
Do 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 do.